Hello everyone, and welcome back to another digital audio player review. So today I have the much anticipated SnowSky Echo Nano. So this is a non-Android music first DAP or MP3 player, digital audio player, whatever you want to call it, with a retro inspired, pen-shaped design, as we used to see back in the, the 2000s and early 2010s for MP3 players. It is a very portable and wired-only listening DAP, and well, I think I have a lot of thoughts on it, and I think this is a very interesting product. But before getting into more of this, disclosure first. FIO did provide this for review. They provided the Echo Nano for review, but as always, all thoughts and opinions are my own. They didn't see this video beforehand, and they don't know what I'm going to say, and they didn't tell me to say anything, so everything here is what I think of it. Alright, so let's look first at the specifications. So the SnowSky Echo Nano, it goes for about $50 USD. It has a single 3.5mm single-ended output. It has a USB-C connection that can be used for charging and for data. Has no internal storage. There is like a limited amount of storage that is used to upgrade, to do firmware updates and everything, but it's not usable for files. So you have to rely on the microSD card, and it supports up to 256 gigabytes for microSD cards. The single-ended output has 120 milliwatts of output power. There's no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, therefore no music streaming support on this digital audio player. It has a very nice 0.91-inch OLED display, which we'll talk about later. I'm not sure what kind of RAM this thing has. It's probably closer to like 32 or 16 megabytes, but it does use a sort of like Rockchip RK Nano D SoC, which is a very, very low power embedded system on a chip. It uses essentially the same operating system as the rest of the Echo lineup. So the Echo Mini and regular Echo uses something called RTOS, or a version thereof it. This has a single Cirrus Logic CS43131 DAC chip in it, and you can see the supported file types and sample rates on here. So pretty good, 24-bit 192 kilohertz for using the single-ended output, and because this can be used as a USB-C DAC, up to 16-bit 48 kilohertz. Some also notes here. There is a file limit, a track limit of 8,192. There is no playlist support. There is no gapless playback support, and you cannot use external DACs or USB-C headphones with this. So everything here is essentially the same as the Echo and the Echo Mini. So if you're familiar with those other players, this should not be a surprise. And if you are not familiar with those players, well, this is the state of these more on the budget MP3 players. So with the Echo Nano, you get the box, of course, a quick start guide, a USB-A to USB-C charging cable, and of course the Echo Nano itself. Sort of a no-frills packaging here, which is at this price range pretty acceptable. I do believe they're going to have cases available for the Echo Nano. Either they're available now or they'll be available soon. Would be interesting to see. There's a lot of potential for like clip-on cases or even magnetic cases that I'm very interested to see how that goes. So let's put this to the side. Let's focus on this guy, and we'll zoom in. So the Echo Nano. It has an aluminum shell, and it feels very nice. Doesn't feel sharp. I really, really like the form factor of this for a, $50 or under MP3 player. The buttons are nice and clicky. So we have on the one side here, I'll consider this the top and this the bottom, because this is the default orientation of the Echo Nano. So we have a playback controls here, so previous track, next track, and a screen on-off button and power on-off button. We also have a button on the end here. It looks like a screw. There is a screw there, but it's clicky. The volume wheel, which I really like to see, can also be used for navigation as well as changing the volume. It is also clicky. So clicky on the end here and clicky on the end on using the volume wheel here. And as far as buttons go, that is kind of all there is to it. On the very bottom end or left end, however you want to look at it, here is the 3.5 millimeter single-ended output. And on the other side here, we have the microSD card slot and a USB-C connection. So I've already got a card in here. It's a 256 gigabyte card. Pop it in here. If you ever are confused about which orientation to put the microSD card in, majority of time, the bottom of the card needs to be facing the display. It doesn't work for every single digital audio player, but for whatever reason, the majority of the time, it seems to be going in this way. This thing, it's light, but it feels dense without feeling hefty. I think they did it. I think they actually just nailed the form factor of this thing, because this is exactly what you want as a portable, travel first kind of digital audio player. Really, really like that. And then this is the screen here, so there's a big bezel around it. It's encased in glass. Pretty sure it's glass. I'm just going to clean off the screen here with my cloth. And we're just going to power it on so you can see what this looks like. I didn't hold it long enough. There we go. And there's the screen, and it is actually very clear in my opinion, considering how small it is. And I'm just going to check what the brightness is here so that we can make sure it's at the highest. Okay, yeah, so that wasn't the highest. Okay, so this is the screen of the Echo Nano. It's a 0.91 inch OLED display, so that's why it's very bright and clear, and that's why the black background is, well, very black, because it's an OLED display. And that's why the icons here are very perceptible. And I think they just nailed not only did they nail the physical design, I think they nailed the UI design of this thing as well. And I have been very critical of the Echo lineups of SnowSky's actually digital audio players UI in the past, but I think here they did a fantastic job. Also, as a side note, the buttons here feel very nice. One thing I did note though is my like the selector button, I'll call it, the play screen off, screen on, and play pause button. Actually, I guess it is just play pause. It sometimes takes you have to like kind of press it in a little bit harder. It doesn't always register, so sometimes it does. Like now it's good, but I have noticed that at first you really had to press it in to get like the contact there. As well, I don't know if you can notice it, but my screen orientation, it's just a little bit off center, so it's just a little bit tilted. I have seen numerous other reviews where people have had the screen is like really tilted and not centered in the casing here, and I guess that's just a quality control issue. It seemed to have only been limited to the first initial batches. As you can see, I tried shaking mine just to get it a little bit centered, and it did help, so it's just a little bit off, I can see. But anyways, so this is the UI. Let's just go through all the settings here. And funny, I always want to hit the top button here to select, but it's the screen on off, and this is the selector here. So actually, basically, so on the main menu, we've got the file browser, the media library, music playback, which is basically going to the now playing screen, music settings, and system settings, as well as the battery indicator. So we're going to use the button here to select system settings. And we're going to go into the screen settings here, and you can rotate. So I have auto rotation disabled, but there is an auto rotate in here to the other side. Well, they call it auto rotate. It literally just rotates the screen. We're going to disable that though. Okay. And to go back, you just hold this button for a couple seconds and then it goes back. Screen timeout, we're going to increase this because this is really annoying. So screen timeout is always 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 30 minutes, and screen always on. I'm just going to leave it at 1 minute because we'll get to that in a bit. Screen brightness, as I already showed you, so oops. There are 5 levels, so 1 is the darkest here. 2. By the way, if you see in this video like the lines on the screen, it doesn't look like that in real life. It's just the recording of this type of screen and just has to do with the type of display being used. It doesn't look like this in real life. It's very clear. You don't have to worry about that. Okay, 3, 4, 5. Keep it on 5. And then, so that's auto rotate, screen timeout, and screen brightness. And if we hold that to go back, we got shutdown settings. So we have some power off timers, power saving shutdown. Power saving shutdown I would recommend to use, and I leave mine set to 10 minutes. I think the default is 5, but again, when we get to the battery section, I'll tell you why I use that. But I don't use any power off timers. Yeah, those are disabled. Okay. So those are the only 2 settings there. Knob control. So this is just literally for what you want to do with the volume knob. So either you use it, global control means for using it for navigation, and then when you're on the now playing screen, you can use it for volume. Or if you want to use it just for volume only, we'll just do that. And then this just controls the volume. And you can just use the 2 buttons here for navigating the system. I like to use the global control and use this to navigate because I'll show you why in the music library section. UAC charging method. So if we go into here, it's mobile mode, computer mode, or normal mode. So mobile mode means that you are using the basically this is the charging behavior when you're plugging this into other devices. So mobile mode means if you're going to plug this into your phone or a digital audio player or what have you, laptop even, means that it's going to use the Nano is going to use its internal battery and not use the source device for power. So yes, you want to use this when using a smartphone, so it's not draining the battery of your smartphone. The computer mode means that it's getting power from the computer and it's not charging the device. So you're saving the battery on here, but you're getting just the power from the computer. Normal mode means you plug anything into the USB-C and it'll just charge. Normal mode, turn on charging power supply. So it does give you a little, we'll go back and do this again. So computer mode, if we select, it'll tell you power only, no charging. If we go up to mobile mode, turn off charging power supply. And down to normal, turn on charging. So this means no matter what I do, I'll just plug in this cable here. It will charge. As you can see, a little charging dialog there. And language, so you can change the language. And there are a lot of supported languages, and I always like to see that. Just makes the device more accessible for everybody. So they pretty much covered the full range here, so I appreciate that. Information just tells you like the hardware version, software version, and if you have a card inserted. As you can see, the internal flash memory is about 230 megabytes. Again, this is just for using it to upgrade the firmware, because you plug this into a computer, you copy the image to the internal storage, you reboot the device, it upgrades. Pretty simple. And you can use, you don't need just a computer, you can even use your phone to transfer the files to. And music support, this will tell you exactly what's supported, so DSD, 64, 128, 256, WAV files, FLAC, APE, MP3, OGG, M4A, WMA. This does include ALAC because it's in an M4A container. So kind of nice. They always do put that information on the Echo devices. And then you can reset all the settings from here. And then, yes, you can format the internal disk as well as the microSD card. I do like when companies include these options on here because it saves you having to use a computer or something in order to format it. And then you know that if this device is formatting the card, it's guaranteed to work. That said, I do use exFAT and FAT32, but mostly exFAT for my microSD cards. So those are all of the system settings. And we'll go into the music settings here. So here you get to choose how you want the songs to play. So loop setting is just either like repeat or folder jumping. If we go into repeat here, it's sequential play, shuffle play, repeat all, loop once. So I'll keep it on sequential. And then folder jumping, disabled or enabled. Basically, if you're doing it by the file browser, it allows you to go to the next folder. So if you want to listen to a bunch of albums in a row that are in a folder, you would want this enabled. I disable it just because I want to specifically select that kind of stuff. There is a built-in equalizer. It's a 5-band equalizer. There's some built-in presets, but then as you can see here, this is the band. So 100 Hertz, 200 Hertz, 1000 Hertz, 3000 Hertz, and 10,000. And it's a plus or minus 10 dB. And as you can see, there is a bunch of other built-in ones, but pretty basic equalizer. Maybe you would like to see something, a bit more fleshed out, but probably limited by the internals, the processing power of this thing. Filter. So we have a bunch of filters. So the fast roll-off, minimum phase. I think it's going to say yes. Fast roll-off, linear phase, slow roll-off, minimum phase, and slow roll-off, linear phase, and oversampling disabled, otherwise called NOS or NOC, no oversampling. Personally, my favorite are the oversampling disabled and the fast roll-off minimum phase filters. Just for me, that's what sounds kind of good to me. These are very subtle changes when it comes to digital filters, and there's no right or wrong. It's just dependent on what you hear. So if someone tells you you're listening using the wrong filter, don't just take their word for it. Try things for yourself. Channel balance, so there is a channel balance built into here, which is always nice. Volume limit, I just keep it at the maximum. Gain adjustment, so there is low gain, high gain. By default, it's on high gain. I changed to low gain. We'll get into why later. And that is it for the music settings. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring actually something up here, because now that I've shown you the UI a little bit, just going to show you this picture of the controls, because in my opinion it's a little bit confusing and it takes a while to get used to. I still haven't memorized all the controls, even though I've been using this for like 2.5, 3 weeks now, like as a daily driver. I still haven't memorized all these things. So at the very top, that power button, yeah, so single press turns screen on and off. Double press, you can lock the knob, the volume knob, so that you don't accidentally, bump it if you put it in your pocket. Holding it for 3 seconds turns the power on or off, and then 10 seconds forces the reboot. The volume knob just switches the settings and the volume, obviously. And then that confirmation play button, as I was talking about. Yes, that's not the power button. I had said that earlier. But yes, so single press is play pause no matter where you are. And double pressing brings you directly to the playback settings, which is nice. Or as you saw, I held it for 2 seconds to return to a previous menu, or held it for 5 seconds to return to the very main page. And then the navigation buttons are just as you would expect. So you can use them to select the options in the menus. You can use them to switch the tracks. Double press to go switch to playing pages. Long press to forward or rewind, which does work. Actually, I found that option did work quite well. Yeah, so this gives you an idea of how Theo managed to fit so many options into a smaller device with limited, physical buttons on it. So I think that they did it in a very smart way. So I'll just double press that. As you see, I got a locking icon here to lock the. So now I can put this in my pocket and I can walk around without worrying that it's going to bump the volume. To unlock it, you just double press the button. There we go. And now I can do this. Okay, so let's look at the media library. So this is, I always want to hit that button to go into the options. I don't know why. So going into the media library, so from here you can go directly to the now playing. But I don't want to. I want to go and show, so here you can see all songs. And so this is why, this volume knob here, this is why I really like it and why I think in a way this is superior to the Echo Mini and Echo. Because on the Echo Mini and Echo, so this is the Echo Mini, you have to use these clicky buttons to navigate everything. There's no like quick way to do it, so you're constantly like clicking a button or holding it. Here you just use the volume knob, and it is very nice and easy. And then you have favorites, so you can add songs to favorites. See, this is the same general setup and UI as the Echo and Echo Mini. Artists, albums, genres, folder navigation, and then this is where you would refresh the media library. So every time you add or remove music from the card, you have to refresh the media library. And at first, before the latest firmware update, it took a long time for this thing. So I have about, I'm going to say it's between 5,000 and 6,000 tracks on this card. This 256 gigabyte card, 99% of it is going to be FLAC. And it did take like 5 minutes to refresh the whole library. But since the latest firmware update, actually it only takes 2 to 3 minutes now. Not too bad. So let's go into artists. And it just shows you all the artists here. And you have to set this up exactly the same way as on the Echo and Echo Mini. So if we go down into, let's select Jerry Cantrell here, and let's select an album that I know is a double album, so Degradation Trip. So in order to get this to display properly, you have to rename the files, the tracks with a 1 and then 0, 1, or 2 and 0, 2, depending on the album it's on. So see, that was the second album, and now it's all correctly displayed. So this type of stuff is very important. So metadata tagging is important, but also the file name is important for these devices. And there are actually some tools out there people have made that make it a little bit easier. One's called, I think, Fat SD Sorter, that kind of thing. So there are ways to automate this, but these are the things you need to know if you're going to use these Echo line of MP3 players. And in general, when you use a digital audio player, you do have to make sure your things are kind of tagged correctly anyways. But anyway, I really like this layout now with the volume wheel, making it much easier, so I can go and play some Led Zeppelin, some Physical Graffiti here, play that. And then this is just the now playing display. So it shows you the track name, it shows you the artist, the time, the playing status. So if I hit pause, it'll show pause. If I hit the button again, it plays and it shows you the elapsed time, as well as track 1 of 15. 15 because this is a double album, so it's not counting the just one single disc. Because if we go in here, it is a double album. Yes. So if I just go and look here, so this just also gives you the other information. So you can add it as a favorite, you can see the power. It's saying HR is a high res file, so it's above 48 kilohertz. And then this is just the single play option. So if we double tap this, we can go right into the music playback settings, select the shuffle play if I want to shuffle it. And then we hold this to go back and then hit the main playback button. Easy. Some interesting behavior. So if you are playing a track and you turn the screen off, and then you go to turn the screen on, it goes back to the now playing screen. But if whether you right now pause it, or if I like have the screen off and I pause it and I turn the screen back on, it goes back to the main menu and you have to go into music playback. So that kind of threw me for a loop at first when I was using this and trying to understand the behavior of how this works. So if that happens to you, that is why it's happening. Again, overall, I think it's a really nice design. Let's go in here. So here's like a dedicated file browser, so you can go into the internal storage, which is not much, like I said, or into your flash card and go into, which is interesting because actually in the media library here, there is a folder navigation too. So why they broke it up that way, I'm not really sure. But anyways, as I said, I like this UI design. I like the readability of everything. The color is kind of like spot on. It's easy to see. Yes, you can't change anything, so you can't customize it. But I think right now, like where this is at, you just want it to work and be easily readable, so, which it does a good job. Everything is clear. I do wish there's maybe like a battery percentage inside of these bars, but maybe how they have implemented the battery checking, they can't actually do that. Again, as I have said in my Echo Mini review, and for the SnowSky Disc as well, proper playlist support, M3U playlist support would have been appreciated. I really would like to see that. That would make this so perfect. Probably not going to see it, to be honest with you. They've said they're looking into it. I don't have high hopes. I don't think that this is capable of it, in my opinion. Why? I don't know. Just feels like if it was, they would have done it. As well, there is no gapless playback support, and I honestly would not expect it to come to this because it is such a low power device that I don't think it's actually capable of gapless playback. That goes for the Echo and the Echo Mini. They did implement it on the SnowSky Disc, but it is a much more powerful system. Yeah, I guess that kind of sums up the OS and the UI and the whole sort of what I would call the music playback workflow. So battery life and charging. So Fio says that you're supposed to get 7 hours of battery life out of this, and you will not get 7 hours of battery life out of this. I could not. At most, on low gain, using a volume of about 30, I was getting between 5 and 6 hours. 6 hours I can live with, but the higher the volume, the more power you need, the more it's going to decrease the battery life. And so if you have IEMs that maybe need a little bit more volume to drive them, you're probably looking at more 5 to 5.5 hours. But generally, for the range of IEMs I tested with this, it is about 6 hours. A lot of people are disappointed with these numbers. While I think it would be nice to get more, given the form factor of this thing and how just damn like small this is, like you even compare it to like the Echo Mini here, and it's substantially smaller, and it still has a proper like DAC in here. So this is the thing, like, there are a lot of cheaper and even smaller or similar sized MP3 players, like on Amazon and AliExpress, but one thing they lack is a dedicated proper DAC chip. So that's what you're getting with this thing. And as a package, that works very well. Anyways, the standby performance of this is very good, at least compared to the SnowSky Disc, which has absolutely terrible standby performance. So it's I would say this is a little bit better than my experience with the Echo Mini. I would still use the automatic shutdown, so when you don't use it for like 10 minutes, it shuts down automatically. Considering how quickly it boots up, like we'll just do this here. And then we will just hold it to power it on. As you see, it boots up very quick. So having it shut down after 10 minutes of no use and then having to just power it back on like that, not the biggest deal. Just to give you some other information about the battery and charging, so it takes about 2 hours to charge. Not the biggest deal. One thing I will show you too, since we're in this section, is this is just a powered cable. Let's plug it in here, and it's powered off, and it will charge while it is powered off and give you this nice little charging animation here. Nice to see. I think it's kind of cool. Kind of retro-ish. I'll just unplug that and we'll just turn this back on. I didn't hold it long enough. A couple other metrics. So basically for 1 IEM for this guy here. So this is the Crin ear reference. So with this, I was using it at a volume of 45 and on low gain. And I basically just started playing music, and this lasted about 5.5 hours. Not the worst. And it's with me going in and turning the screen on every once in a while just to check that, like, the bars here for the battery icon. Another one I did is this guy here. So this is the Campfire Audio Andromeda 10. This I did with a volume of 35 on low gain, and I got, for whatever reason, just 5 hours. So there is some fluctuation a little bit, and it does depend on sort of like also the sampling rates you're using. So I have a mixture of just CD quality, which is 16-bit, 44.1 kilohertz. And I have files that go all the way up to high res, which is 24-bit, 192 kilohertz. The higher res the file, the more additional processing is needed on this thing. So that's why there's that variability. Speaking of files and everything, syncing music and playlists, as I alluded to earlier, it's the same as with this guy here, the Echo Mini. You need to just put all of your music files on the SD card, and you need to understand how you're going to navigate them. So if you want to navigate it by artist, album, tracks, that's how you need to organize it. If you want to create playlists, and by putting songs into folders, you can do that too, which is a very workaround way to actually have playlist support. And I guess just to touch on, again, the overall user experience of the Echo Nano, for me it's very good. I do like the simple and straightforward playback nature of it, and the fact that I can use, which I'll get to, IEMs and headphones with it is very nice, and I think it's just a nice, simple, straightforward MP3 player. So let's get into the output power then. So, well, as you see, I have like these Campfire Audio Andromeda 10s. This is an $1,800 IEM, and it is a fairly sensitive IEM. And when I'm using it with the Echo Nano, I don't hear any background hiss or noise, none at all. The background is black. So the noise floor is very low. And for a $50 digital audio player, I think that is just phenomenal. And actually, it's the same case on the Echo Mini and the Echo and the SnowSky Disc, which I have just over here. It's kind of amazing because it has a proper DAC chip in it, the Cirrus Logic CS43131. It's a very well-known chip. And the way that FIO has implemented everything from the power delivery circuitry to how they're utilizing the DAC chip, it's amazing that they actually got the impedance level that low and the noise floor that low. I don't hear any noise on this thing or even that thing. So, I mean, it's kind of weird to use such expensive IEMs with a $50 digital audio player, but hey, they did it, and it's possible, and it sounds pretty good with it. So I think they deserve some respect for that. So all of the IEMs I used with it actually were very good. Even more demanding IEMs, like say the Dunu DN242. Now I say demanding, but I say demanding in the sense that it needs consistent power delivery for a hybrid driver IEM like that has a higher impedance rating. I think it's around 32 ohms. The fact that even that works well on here and I didn't have any issues with it, I think that's pretty phenomenal. I thought I had it here. I guess I don't, but yeah. So everything on here is good. The IEMs on here work good. Even over-ear headphones, even on low gain, worked fine. My Focal Azurus worked fine on here, as did the Sennheiser HD505 and HD550. Both great headphones. Worked fine on here. And those are 150 and 200 ohm headphones. Or sorry, 120 and 150 ohm headphones on here. So for most people who are, let's say, getting into this hobby or want something just very portable and travel friendly, and you're only using wired, headphones or IEMs, the Echo Nano will probably drive everything that you need just fine within realistic terms. I did use my Hi-Fi Man Edition XV with this. It was okay. It wasn't. It got enough volume. I just didn't feel it gave the presentation that I was expecting. So there are limitations to a digital audio player in this size. So I guess leading us into the sound quality then, again, same DAC chip as in here, although this has dual CS43131 DAC chips in here, and a little bit more output power too. Well, considering it has the 4.4 millimeter on there as well, but anyways, single DAC chip on the Echo Nano. It gives you a very clean and balanced presentation. The overall sound is pretty, neutral and crisp and controlled. It doesn't sound warm or thick. It's not really colored actually. It just sounds nice. It's basically, this is just like a nice clean source with no background noise, no interference at all, low noise floor. And if you want to use your really expensive IEMs with it, they will sound just fine within the confines of what this thing actually is, as long as you're not looking for those extremely detailed nuances. I'm talking more into the macro detail, that kind of stuff. I think Theo and SnowSky, I think they're just killing it in the sound quality department. Even the SnowSky Disc sounds phenomenal. So all these things are just great, I think. I have no issues with the sound quality of any of these devices, but especially for a $50 digital audio player. And that's kind of all the level of detail I'm going to get into about the sound quality for this, because well, that's all you kind of really need to know. This is not a $3,000 digital audio player with a very specifically designed power delivery system or audio delivery system. It's just a straightforward, simple MP3 player designed to give you a clean and good sound. Which I guess kind of brings me into my final thoughts of this thing. I guess the only real compromises with this are the small screen / the small size, the battery life, which is not phenomenal but decent, and the inherent limitations of the operating system and the hardware. By that I mean, you can't have a microSD card larger than 512 gigabytes, or sorry, not larger than 256 gigabytes. You can't have more than 8,192 tracks on that card. So this is not a device for very, very large libraries. It is something that is more like, hey, I have this, my favorite 5,000 or 6,000 tracks that I'm going to take with me and just want to listen to this pretty easily without any bulk. So it's not a perfect app, but it is a very well implemented one with a lot of character. And I even everything down to this physical design, as you can see, it looks very nice, and the subtle markings on it, the branding. Of course, we got a high-res audio sticker on there, which you can take off if you want, but the black and red, I think, is a very striking color. There are also other colors too, but I think this looks pretty damn good. Personally, I really like it, and it's a nice contrast to this blue color that they have for their other digital audio players. So this is a $50 digital audio player, and you might be wondering, like, so if I wanted to move up to, say, you know, something a little bit more higher powered or feature rich, that kind of thing, like what would I be looking at then? Well, let's just bring it up here. Or at least let's try to, if my OBS will cooperate. I guess it won't. But if you go to my website, HiFi-Oasis.com, I have a digital audio player guide showing you all of the, you know, a breakdown of all of the by price available digital audio players. I'll put a screenshot of it here. But for, let's say, you know, $69, so almost $20 more, you can get a HiBy R1, which does have things like gapless playback, playlist support. It still does only have a single-ended output, but you get support for up to 2 terabytes of microSD card, a 50,000 track limit when not using the file browser, and a essentially unlimited track limit for when you are using the file browser. And actually, they have a beta firmware out that increases the music library track limit to 100,000. Which this one is actually running, but I don't have that many tracks. I don't even have 50,000. But again, this is an option for $20 more. So I don't expect people who are looking at the Echo Nano, the price of $50, to now spend $20 more on this. But I'm simply saying this is just an option. And if you want something that's a little bit more powered with more features, the TempoTec Variations V1 will bring it up to, I think, about $90. So this has a 4.4 millimeter output, and essentially all the same features as the R1 because it runs HiBy OS. Or I guess I would consider the Echo Mini / Echo as a side grade option. So this is if you want something that has maybe a larger screen and you like this sort of cassette player retro aesthetic and using the clicky buttons. But again, I don't like using those clicky buttons to navigate things. It's just a little bit annoying. But as you can see, the screen size is pretty big, and there are way more customization options for the Echo and Echo Mini. People have created all these custom backgrounds you can upload on here, which is cool. I think that's really interesting and neat. And then, of course, the disc, which is about, well, double the price, I think, at this point. But again, you have gapless playback support and 2 terabyte microSD card support. Probably essentially unlimited track support at this point, as well as Bluetooth. So really it just comes down to your priorities, your requirements, and your budget. So if you're looking for a $50 digital audio player that will probably get most of what you want done, I think the Echo Nano does a fantastic job. So that is my review of the SnowSky Echo Nano. Let me know what you think of this digital audio player, and let me know what you think of the current state of digital audio players right now. I'll have links to everything in the description for all of the devices I just showed you, as well as my digital audio player guide on my website. As always, thank you for watching. If you like my content, help me out. Click the like button and subscribe to get notified of new videos. And I will see you next time.